Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Aditya, your host for today's session, and it's an absolute pleasure to welcome you to Shared Future 5.0, our virtual panel discussion, where we explore one of the biggest questions of our time. Will AI create more jobs than it destroys? AI is transforming industries at lightning speed, automating processes, reshaping roles, and challenging our understanding of work itself. But uh, but is this the dawn of a new era of innovation, or are we heading towards an automation-driven crisis? Today, we are diving into its critical discussion with an incredible panel of experts, leaders who are actively shaping the future of work. Let's begin by introducing our panelists. First, we have Aprajita, a powerhouse in HR with 18 plus years of experience at India Gold. She's redefining how fintech hires and nurtures talent, ensuring employees don't just adapt to change but thrive in it. With her strategic mindset and deep expertise in talent management, she's the perfect person to help us understand how AI is reshaping company culture. Welcome, Aprajita.
Thank you, Aditya. Happy to be here.
Next, we have Grishma Dalal, a global talent acquisition expert and currently leading hiring for APAC at Revolut. She has built high EQ teams for startups and scale ups, working at the intersection of HR tech, behavioral hiring, and employer branding. She's also a UN Women UK delegate and a thought leader in the hiring space. If there's anyone who can decode the human side of AI driven recruitment, it's Grishma. Welcome.
Thanks so much, Aditya. Really happy to be here.
Next up is Sindhuja, a 20-year veteran in talent development, HR transformation, and DEI initiatives. She is not just an HR leader, but also a TEDx speaker, documentary photojournalist, psychotherapist, and a twin mom. Yes, she does it all. Her passion for equity and human behavior makes her insights on AI hiring and workplace culture truly unique. Sindhuja, we are thrilled to have you.
Thank you, Aditya. Excited to be here as well.
Next up, Shweta Joshi, Assistant General Manager with Listen Lights, a dynamic HR leader with a passion for talent strategy and workplace transformation. She has played a key role in shaping people centric cultures. As a recognized ETHR Emerging Leader 2025, she's not just driving hiring innovation, but also mentoring professionals to build fulfilling careers. Shweta, we welcome you to the panel.
Thank you so much, Aditya, and lovely to have my co-panelists. Looking forward to the discussion. Thank you.
And finally, leading our discussion today is Rohan Lele, the founder and principal consultant at Amartys Consulting. Rohan has spent nearly 2 decades in HR leadership, specializing in talent transformation, leadership coaching, and high performance cultures. As a certified coach and a facilitator, he helps organizations scale through strategic people practices. Rohan, with your expertise, we know today's discussion will be an engaging one. Here, I give you the stage, and it's all yours.
Wonderful. A very, very good afternoon, everyone, and so glad to have all women leaders in the panel. And I'm so fortunate to be leading this elite panel today, moderating this very, very uh, important session and on a very critical subject, which is AI, artificial intelligence, and is it really going to create jobs or it's going to destroy jobs? Aditya, first of all, thanks for the introduction. Welcome to all the fellow panelists today. Very excited and looking forward to hearing your views on this very, very important subject. We have exactly 55 minutes from now for the session to close. And without taking much time, let me just set the context. For the session today. We are talking about AI. Is it going to destroy jobs, or is it going to create jobs? And I was reading some very interesting statistics around it, and the World Economic Forum, which is a very prestigious forum worldwide, they have predicted that nearly about 85 million jobs are going to get destroyed because of AI. I am not sure, how that's going to happen, but that's a global number. But the good news is that while 85 million jobs are going to get destroyed, 97 million jobs are going to get created because of AI. And that's a very heartening news. I think, the world sort of was at a similar flux when the IT influx happened in the early 2000, the late 1990s and the early 2000s. We were all like, with computers coming in, what's going to happen? Are the jobs going to be taken away? But what we only realize is as we progress, while yes, certain jobs do become redundant, uh, new technologies, new fronts do create a lot more jobs than they take away. Having said that, I really want to get now listen. Very excited to listen to the panel members on what are your views about this subject. And without taking much time, putting on my first question to Shweta. So Shweta, I'm going to actually ask you two questions in a row because I understand that you have something very pressing and you will have to leave us in a while. We would have loved to have you throughout the session, but understand there's a commitment and you'll have to go. So I'll be putting two questions to you, and then whenever you feel like leaving the call because of your other commitments, you can always do that. So Shweta, here's my first question to you: will AI kill the gut feeling in hiring? And is that going to be a good thing? What are your thoughts on this?
Thank you so much for bringing up this question. And in fact, this has been one of my favorite questions coming across various forums and discussions, Rohan. Uh, Quickly jumping on to the answer. See, the answer is no. It will not kill the gut feeling. There is something called AI. The full form of AI is artificial intelligence, and there's something called human intelligence. I'll always give more weightage to human intelligence. That is how it's supposed to be. It's one of a machine that has been curated by humans through their human intelligence to assist them in their transactional and operational job. You very well beautifully mentioned in the start of this discussion 85 million jobs being cut off and 90 plus million jobs being created, 96 if I understood correct the numbers. And that's what the fact is. When the AI comes in place, maybe there would be few autopilot mode transactional jobs wherein we need an assistant or a technology to support us so that our skills or our people's skills can be utilized in a more efficient manner. So it would never happen. You take any of the technology evolvement, it is just a teething issue or a fear that's revolving around, and it's a duty of for us, we as people and culture department, be talent acquisition, talent development, wherein there should be skill mapping curated to the new version, looking at the AI being falling in the place. Gone are the days when we are curating headcount planning in our AOP and the annual plannings for every organization we represent to. Uh, we should now be more mindful, checking on what are the technologies which can actually take on this base of the pyramid responsibility, and what are the actual roles we would need on board to be hired or to be elevated or to be trained in an organization. This is something which would be a first 2 3 years. So if I count from now for next 2 or 3 or 4 years, a big task for every HR representative, be it someone who's a talent acquisition person or an L&D person, an OD interventionist, or even a comp and pen or payroll specialist. And then we curate the new version of payroll cycle and even the level of management. We should not go on the traditional way. If we do that, then it will be an obsolete. Then definitely it's an area of worry for those organizations. If they are still letting the HR people do with the traditional way of headcount planning, it will fall back very strongly, and there can be some kind of bubbles in those organizations, or some kind of, I personally call it black holes in terms of headcount crunch in these organizations. So we should be proactive, foreseeing the skill requirement. It's all the game of skill, Rohan. We know the skills to be needed. We should be able to foresee where to hire, where to train, and where to deploy those skills. That's how it needs to be taken care of.
Yeah. So I think very, very beautifully put that. While I and agree that I don't see AI really sort of replacing human intelligence. I think human intelligence is far superior, at least today. Don't know how it's going to evolve after 10 years from now, but for sure, human intelligence is always going to be way superior to anything else. And yeah, I think you brought out a very beautiful point that how can AI actually be more of an enabler in the process than being a killer in the process. And I think HR will also have to sort of adapt to how we can utilize artificial intelligence in better ways and make our jobs more productive. So thanks for bringing that out. Shweta, just a question. Would you want to stay? So should I sort of shoot my next question to you, or are you okay to wait?
That's kind of you of asking on this forum. Thankfully, I planned because this is such a great platform to be a part of. I would love to stay, and then I've planned the things and moved the things ahead.
Wonderful. So that's a good
And
news.
I would definitely want to hear the live opinions of my co-speakers as well.
Wonderful. So thank you, Shweta, for staying back with us. So I'm going to go to the next panelist for the day, and that's Sindhuja. Sindhuja, I want to understand, in what ways can AI help create a workplace that is truly diverse and inclusive? Any thoughts on that?
Sure, thank you. That's a good question. Let's look at two big opportunities in the DEIB space, right? So, one is being able to uncover and mitigate biases, and two is challenges around representation and how can we have people from various backgrounds in the organization. And for both of this, I see AI as a very powerful ally. And since you were talking about the statistic, I think the first place to start is to make sure there is psychological safety in the adoption of AI, right? We need to create a mindset shift in our employees so that they see AI as an augmentation tool, as an accelerator, as maybe a co-worker, and not feel threatened by it. I think that's where we have to start first to really have adoption in the truest sense. Okay, so let's talk about two aspects, right? One is diversity and representation, and then I'll go on to inclusion. Shweta spoke about hiring. Now, today we have a variety of tools that are able to help us with hiring. I was reading a recent statistic which says more than 60% of organizations are using AI in some form or the other for hiring. Let me stick to the diversity space, right? Today we have tools that will look at job descriptions and tell us if there is bias. A tool like Textio, for instance, can read through your job descriptions and say, hey, these are the words that are masculine, for instance, or aggressive, and recommend alternatives. This seems like a very simple thing, but the simple intervention has had huge impact. So there is a very famous FMCG organization which said they've had more than 90,000 women candidates in the pipeline just by making this one change in a year. Okay, that's the kind of impact. And talking about representation, today we have a variety of tools which looks at people from underrepresented groups or vulnerable communities, and you can attract that talent. Seek Out, for instance, does that. It aggregates resumes from LinkedIn or GitHub, and again widens the pool. So that's about widening the pool. And once you get that, what do? There are tools which help you do gamified AI-based assessments. Pymetrics is one of those tools that I heard about, which looks at candidates, not the other demographics, just what their skills and competencies are, does these assessments and comes up with what is their cognitive score, emotional and social quotient. And then, therefore, it mitigates bias right at that stage.
Right.
And so that's in terms of hiring and diversity. And I think there is Microsoft and Twitter and so many such examples of organizations which are using AI-backed sourcing platforms today for DEI, for advancing their diversity commitments.
Sure.
The second bit, which is the tougher one, that is creating an inclusive culture where everybody feels heard. That's where today we have a variety of listening tools. Gone are the days we do the once a year or twice a year engagement surveys, right? Today we have listening tools that are constantly looking at what are employee sentiments, what are they feeling, thinking, doing on the surveys, or also looking at chats and other things, of course, looking at privacy concerns, and then is able to come up with insights or patterns that you might otherwise not have looked at. So I think IBM has this analytics which says things like, hey, what are women feeling, let's say, in a certain function, in a certain demographic? And one of the interventions that they did based on it was improve sponsorship opportunities for certain groups based on the insight they got. And that's important. I mean, AI is as good as the data that you give. And eventually, if the leader and the organization is committed to DEI, they will use all of these insights to really make wonderful decisions that advance their commitment. Yeah, so these are some of the things, and of course there is performance management space where again there is a huge use case. I hope I'm not taking too much time. Uber, for instance, does not do driver ratings by manager, right? It looks at passenger ratings, number of trips, profits, revenue, so many other parameters to then look at what is the rating for the manager. So various other organizations which have looked at performance evaluations more objectively using AI. So yeah, there is a variety of use cases for DEI, and organizations are doing it, are picking up speed apart from hiring in the space.
Wonderful. So I think thanks for sharing those very relevant examples, because that gives a lot of clarity and also a lot of confidence of how AI can be a great enabler in the DEI space. In fact, uh, just today and yesterday, while I was browsing through LinkedIn, it really disappoints me when I look at an advertisement which says we are looking for an XYZ, let's say a CHRO, and only males should apply, or vice versa, which says that we are looking for a female CHRO. Now, a CHRO is a CHRO, right? Why are we tagging it as we are looking at a female CHRO or a male CHRO? I mean, either of the extremes are not great. And I think the kind of tools that you suggested can add a lot of value to just make these a very small step, but look at your job description as gender neutral, right? I think this is a wonderful example that you gave. And then yes, there are a lot of tools available today, a lot of companies in the space of surveys where the feedback can be literally taken on a real time basis, and companies can act with a far more vigilant and a far more agility to respond to concerns of the employees. So thank you, Sindhuja, for sharing your views on this subject. Moving to Grishma. Grishma, here's my question to you. Are we being too optimistic about AI's ability to create jobs? Or is this just another automation anxiety moment like the past revolution? So what do you think?
Thanks, Rohan, for this really interesting question. I'm going to flip it a little bit. I'm going to talk a little bit about the automation anxiety first. I think in the past, when industrial revolution or the internet came into being, there was a lot of nervousness around things because I think as a generation we were not very well prepared. I still remember going to my father's office and the internet was out and nobody really knew how to use it. No one was really trained. And I think the ones who really stuck it out and sustained are the ones who upskill themselves. I think the same applies to the AI generation, to the AI revolution, so to speak, as well. I think I am very realistically optimistic about the whole onset of AI and the ability to create jobs. But it really it's dependent on micro and macro level. On a micro level, how willing are individuals are ready to upskill themselves and train themselves, and being a bit more proactive about that, as Shweta mentioned. And on a macro level, how well are businesses, policies, educational policies, socioeconomic policies at a country level going to integrate AI into their policies at a country level, and that will really depend on how we as a society will end up embedding AI into our sort of regular day-to-day life. So I think that's why I'm very cautiously or realistically optimistic, depending on how these two micro and macro levels kind of play out. Another thing I think we have to mention is, I think Rohan, you probably said that AI is very much an enabler. So I kind of strongly believe in that. It's a catalyst to the chemical reaction. It's not the chemical itself, and that's something which you really need to bear in mind. So when I'm as a hiring and talent professional using AI, I do not use it to completely replace what I'm doing, which is hiring, making the decision about how the candidate is going to be aligning into the culture, how they're aligning behaviorally. I rely on myself and my kind of experience on that. But when it comes to other things, like I use tools like Otter and Grain, which help me transcribe interviews, which help me summarize my interview notes, so that when I'm interviewing a candidate, I'm fully present there to really understand what they're saying, to really listen to them, to understand, to read between the lines and observe their body language, and relying on AI tools just to help me do my job better. And the same thing applies in other aspects as well, in performance management, in learning and development. There are tools like Learnably, which I've really used, which is fantastic, extremely intuitive. And once you add in your profile and what is it that you're really looking to, how you're looking to utilize your L&D budget. But it all depends on how detailed and how well you're completing that profile. So it really goes hand in hand on how proactive the person's going to be in adopting these tools into their day-to-day life and in their work life.
Right. Well said. I think I really love the whole analogy that you use, right? That AI is a catalyst for a chemical reaction. It's not the chemical. The real chemical is the human here and not the AI. Very, very well said. Moving to the next question and this is to Aprajita. Here's this question for you. The biggest fear around AI is job loss, right? And we're already seeing a lot of layoffs, that are happening all around. And there's one news of layoff literally every day on LinkedIn. Some or the other organization is laying off people. So this job loss fear is quite practical and quite reasonable. What practical steps can companies take, to transition employees into AI enhanced roles rather than just displacing them? So what are your thoughts on this?
Most of the people with anything new, right? I think
Aprajita, we can't hear you.
Yes. Is this better?
Yes, it is.
Okay, super. Okay, so I'm going to start off again. So what I was kind of saying was that, with anything new coming in, right? I think our first incident, and I think it's a extremely human tendency only to kind of see it as a threat, to see it as a replacement to something, to see it as, pushing humans to kind of get out of their comfort zone, which is technically, and we've been proven wrong time and again, right? Obviously initial discussion was computers getting introduced, right? Nobody really knew how to use the computers at all, right? We had these massive, big machines sitting in front of us, and in schools, like literally one machine that was teaching like a class of 20, 25, 30 people, right? But we've evolved, right? Everybody has a machine that they're kind of carrying in their hand today, and the lives are, you cannot function without that one machine in your hand, right? One tech in your hand. um, I think it's similar to that, right? And the reason why I kind of brought that up is because it's not a threat, right? I feel a lot of companies who really think of growing and being progressive, fast, being in with the times, but and everything, are really seeing AI as an enabler, right? And yes, there are companies that are, they are doing mass layoffs, but and everything, but I think there are a lot of other factors to those layoffs as well. And I don't think AI is the only thing, right? Because after COVID, the job scenarios kind of changed a lot. People working from home has actually now kind of realized there is a people human intervention that's still required. You can't be like remotely working all the time, and not after like few years that the COVID's kind of passed off also, right? So yeah, coming back to AI from that perspective, I think just a few things for companies that they can do, and we're doing that. I feel that we were probably early adopters to this, and thankfully, our functions like the HR function, admin, my finance team actually kind of picked up AI a lot sooner than our tech and product team did in India. Gold was really creating, a learning path for the team, because, I'm a part of a startup, right? It's a small, and in a startup, I'm sure all of us know this, that, there are lean teams, right?
Yeah.
So that we can grow fast. There is profitability sooner, because you want to be kind of reaching an IPO level at some point. So we'll always continue to be a lean team. So how do we optimize tech to be more productive, more progressive, right? And that's where we kind of picked up on enabling our support functions for our business operations bit and everything a lot sooner from an AI. So that means we had learning paths. We gave people access to AI, right, to kind of try out, figure out how you kind of use it, feed in information as much as you can, see what it does, right? See the kind of responses that are coming in today. I still continue to have the same number of people in my team, like 6 months down the line still, since we kind of started off. There are general administrative responses that are now enabled through AI for me, where my current team has been able to focus on other strategic projects that they need to work on. And AI is kind of taking care of, regular everyday tasks and everything, which are very, very general. And I think that's where I'm kind of coming. A learning path for the team is very, very important. Second, I think encouraging experimentation. Like I said, I'm like, we gave the tool to the team to experiment. Today, I think they're able to kind of teach even the tech guys how, what are the things that you can do actually with AI, the tool, because they've been like 6 months into this, right? Also, I think somewhere similar to what, Shweta had also kind of mentioned initially, right? I like how the job roles are going to be looked at now is something that AI can actually remove those redundancies, and I think Sindhuja also mentioned that redundancies, the things that biasness that, can actually, where the human eye is not able to, catch that, because there's so many documents, there's so many things that we're reading. We're looking at probably 100, 200 applications still, right? But AI is able to kind of map those redundancies and eliminate even that and make a lot more specific to what a maybe, let's say, a regular conventional ATS tool would do for you, an applicant tracking system would do basically for you, right? And really coming back to really for encouraging employees, reward employees who want to be able to use AI to become more productive, to give a better customer experience, right? In a country like India, and I'm sure, I hope everyone's going to kind of agree to that, no matter how evolved we get from a work perspective and how intelligent we become, especially in India, I feel our customers still need a very, very human intervention, right? Till the time they don't talk to a person, they don't feel that they're getting the right support, right? So how AI enables us to get there also, that there is servicing from both aspects, I think one of the ways that AI can actually help enable organizations to do so. Yeah.
Right, right, right. Oh, a lot of information to capture. So I am not going to summarize this, but yeah, I think you made very relevant points around customer relationship, how AI can really be an enabler, and I think that's something which is coming across all the points that are being shared by all the panelists, right? And it's heartening that to know and understand that AI is not something that is going to completely replace humans, but it's going to be more of a catalyst or more of an enabler or more of a facilitator in the process, making our lives and making our jobs much, much easier. But thank you, Aprajita, for sharing your perspective. Very, very relevant, and thank you for sharing all the specific examples that you did. Uh, Going back to Shweta again, and we are already seeing that AI is making things a lot more efficient, right? I mean, Aparajita just said that, let's say today, if you have to sort of screen 200 resumes at a time, with the help of AI, it could be done in minutes, right? And it would exactly read out what is relevant and what is not relevant. Having said that, the whole process of hiring is going to get 10x faster. Now, let's say if you feel 10x is an exaggeration, at least a 5x faster, for sure. Right now, how do you see this? And how do you see companies sort of, readjusting themselves to this whole hiring process?
That's actually a very innovative question, actually, Rohan. Thank you so much for putting across this on the table. See, that's true. There are few roles wherein the companies might not want to rush in for hiring for a certain role. For obvious reasons, maybe those roles are confidential, or maybe those roles are wherein we want someone onboarded maybe 5 months down the line, but we want to initiate the passive sourcing part by our recruitment team. There can be other reasons as well.
Right.
Having said that, in either of the scenario, even if there are few roles wherein you want to go on for, which I hate saying it, but maybe even exploring candidates and then deciding if it is really matching our requirements, the pool availability, especially niche and leadership role scenarios. AI coming in, AI being adopted maybe at the screening stage, maybe at on-demand interview stages, and maybe even in certain scenarios, for example, by default, populating the offer letters, not the recruiters or the payroll or HR ops team curating the offer letters. That would help the problem. That would not disrupt anything in terms of decision making. When there is a decision making being involved, selecting the candidate, approving the salary, therein AI might disrupt or push in people, uh, wherein we want to still take time to decide. So there are two sides of this coin. One, it's good. See, frankly, there are many of the leaders, they are not good decision makers. AI, be it hiring, be it marketing, be it even working on certain projects, any part of people and cultural department, AI will help the decision makers, will actually even monitor their decision making skills. There are leaders in the organization who are not sure how to decide. They are sure the innovativeness has to be there, but they do
Right.
not know what is a calculated risk out there. So in such scenario, the head of department of that department, like in this illustration, the question is about talent acquisition. The SOP, the standard operating procedure, should be designed in a way wherein which no doubt brings in AI, but also let them in certain cases take, instead of 48 hours, for example, 72 hours, and so on and so forth, to take the decisions in place, or maybe make that role redundant of the external platform. It is sensitive case for an organization, and hence this will help the current bandwidth being deployed on more critical work, be it hiring, be it working on PMS or any such thing, wherein we are actually not utilizing the base of the pyramid team, the executors team bandwidth correctly. In that case, we're asking to go and just do headhunt and check on the talent pool available, and we know we might not hire someone. We just want to compare someone internally. Is he or she better than the internal resource to be promoted? Therein, AI might question the decision making, which might be a concern, especially very beautifully mentioned by Aprajita. In startups, the companies who are structured compliance would not face this as an error, but in startup they make impulsive decisions, they withdraw or maybe hold on. Therein the leaders, wherein the HR's dependency get on the leaders to come and decide, the HR would be empowered, one, the talent acquisition leaders would be empowered in this case too, and the business leaders would be needing to do more of introspections. Are we really not taking the decisions within time and impacting our TA SOP, or it's an operational risk, and so on and so forth. Incident management would be very important here. I think this is something which would evolve with time. But as they say, always humans are very creative. They bring up with something else wherein the AI gets adopted. But if you are genuinely wanting to make it more compliant, then it would be beautiful thing to execute across.
Right, right. I think, and you made a very relevant point, Shweta, that while I think the operational roles, the hiring is going to be far more faster, right? Maybe a 5x or a 10x. But when it comes to very important niche or strategic roles, organizations will take their own sweet time. I'm sure they're not going to rush through the process just for the sake of it, because one wrong hiring decision at the top of the hierarchy can really cost the organization, both in terms of culture and the productivity. So thanks, Shweta, for sharing your views on the subject. I'll again go back to Aparajita because I understand she has some pressing meetings. So Aparajita, I'm going to here's a question for you, and after you are done giving your perspective, you may want to leave the session. While we would have loved to have you stay with us throughout the session, but we understand there's something very pressing. So here's a question for you, Aprajita. Employee engagement and culture is something that is always seen driven by HR and humans basically, right? There's a whole think tank which is operating in terms of how do we increase our engagement and culture. How do you see the role of AI? Can AI truly be an enabler and contribute in building a very strong, positive company culture, or is it something that is still going to remain very, very human driven? Your thoughts on this?
I think it's a great question, Rohan. When I obviously when I kind of think about this, right? I think one thing that very, very specifically comes in my mind, and I'm sure my panelists would agree with this, is culture is a deeply human thing. It's not a tech or a machine, right? It's deeply human. Uh, which means obviously, yes, AI can support or amplify the culture when it's actually used in the right way, but it can actually not replace what a human being can do to kind of hold the company's culture through engagement, but and everything, which is a very, very crucial part of every organization, right? Where I feel AI can actually contribute, when it comes to culture, engagement, employee engagement, is really doing analysis of these pulse surveys, employee surveys that we do, right? And actually understanding the sentiments out of those responses that come up, right? It, I think that is obviously going to be, and like I said, going back to my same thing, enabling us to kind of look at the sentiments analysis. What is the general theme that's going on? Uh, Personalizing learning paths as well, right? When you have a sense of, data of how somebody performs, right? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? And you feed in that into a machine, an AI, right? It can actually create a path for you, a growth path, a learning path, right? Obviously, you customize it as per, but it actually gives you an outline of what are the effective ways, what is like what's going out in the market, right? In the industry. Um, Third, I feel it's a bias check also. And I'll go back to what Sindhuja also kind of said with the AI, right? It's bias check is something extremely critical here as well, which AI can actually help us, figure out of any analysis that we have to do. Um, and a continuous recognition tool, I think. There are shout outs, there is like one-liner recognitions that happen where people actually look for acknowledgement, right? AI just enables, just like doesn't auto suggest, it's fed in into the system. We all use an intranet or some machine, an HRMS system, right? And most of the HRMS now I feel are AI enabled. I'm like premature or at an advanced stage, they're becoming that, right? So
Yeah.
it's actually helping us actually keep the culture together,
Yeah.
right? But yes, with a lot of human, touch into that. Where I, in fact, on the other side, what I feel that AI might fall short is empathy, right? Is showing that trust or belongingness, right? And a code cannot do that, right? A code can actually not bring that in the human. And really, let's say cultural rituals also, like team bonding, there is some kind of storytelling that's happening, some kind of celebration, right? That's again, it's very, very human intentionally designed, right? Where I think the way it's represented also, it can be through a human only and not really a machine. So
Yeah.
that's where I feel, again, like an enabling tool, but human intervention is obviously 80% still required in maintaining the culture and engagement in an organization. So yeah.
Right, right, right. So I think the key takeaway from what you just mentioned is it's still going to be a good 70-80% driven by the humans, but AI can play a very, very important role in helping us getting feedback, on a very real time basis, whether it's through pulse surveys or whether it's the chatbots who are connecting with employees to understand what is their mood like today. And one of you also mentioned about it earlier. So I think great, Aprajita, thank you. Thank you for your inputs on this very, very important question. Great, Aprajita. In case if there's something pressing and you have to leave, we would excuse you.
Yeah.
And if you want to stay put, we would love to have you. Uh,
I'm going to drop off, but thank you so much, everyone. Thanks.
Thank
Nice
you.
meeting you.
So yeah, so let me move back to Sindhuja now. And Sindhuja, my question is about uh, how can AI really seamlessly integrate the whole talent management function? When we talk about enhancing hiring to development to retention, how do you see AI sort of seamlessly weaving into the whole of talent management? And what are your thoughts on that?
Sure, a lot of interesting use cases there. But I heard a lot of people talk about if AI is used right. So I wanted to share that there is the New York City's landmark law today, which requires organizations to do annual bias audit of their AI hiring tools and publish those results. So the ethics around using AI and hiring tool AI and specifically hiring tools has become very, very important. Organizations are already doing their third-party collaboration to do these fairness audits. So that's going to become big. Coming back to your question, we've spoken a lot about hiring, so maybe I'll talk about the other aspects. Let's say talent development to start with. I think Aparajita did mention about career paths. So today we have a whole lot of learning experience platforms which can look at the employees' competencies, aspirations, role, where they are, where they want to be, and create hyper personalized career paths and learning journeys for them. Let's say I could tell you, hey, the marketing team seems to be great with data analytics skill, but they probably need some guidance on XYZ. And then you can have learning content that is adaptive to not just the team, to every employee, and then constantly monitor the progress. And something like this has improved adoption, which used to be a biggest challenge for L&D professionals, right? Adoption is improved, but also being able to link learning to specific career aspirations of people, and therefore retention eventually. And of course, AI based chatbots and tutors who are almost like your 24/7 personal coach. So if you're making a customer demo, if you're doing a customer demo, if you're making a presentation, you have the AI bot giving you insights and helping you course correct as you're doing the presentation. Right? So there is this constant help. You have tools like Cultivate and Humu, which also act as coach and nudges for you. So if you have a leadership development program for 6 months, one of the biggest challenges that has been there is how do you ensure that people are excited about the program for 6 months and how are they applying the learning. So today you have AI coach nudging saying, hey, you're a team leader with 8 people. These 3 people have not been recognized for some time. These 3 people need some inputs on XYZ. Why don't you as a manager take care of that? And the manager could act on these. Right. So AI powered coaching tools are really big. Virtual reality and AI based learning program. So I think Walmart has recently used a whole lot of VR for training their customer support representatives, if I'm not wrong, and look at specific situations and do business simulations around it. So that's also becoming really big. So this is all of learning and development and coaching. Then if you look at the internal talent marketplace, that's another important piece. There was a LinkedIn survey which said just by looking at internal talent mobility, you could improve retention by 30%. So you have tools today which have career marketplaces. So they would map people and tell them, hey, these are the internal job postings, these are the possible stretch assignments available, these are the mentors that you could reach out to, and that just absolutely personalizes career development for them again.
Right.
Back to performance management, and again, most of us have moved to continuous feedback and coaching. So you have tools which can help you look at trends from your entire performance period, the comments, the check-in comments, the project metrics, OKR, so on, and tell you, hey, where is this employee on a goal? And then suggest managers what are some of the tips on improving coaching and development opportunities for them. So yeah, starting from hiring to onboarding to exit, I think you have usage and application of AI throughout the talent management landscape today.
Wonderful. So thanks, Sindhuja. A lot of learning for me personally, in terms of some examples that you just shared. I think very relevant to what we were discussing about talent management. And I think I agree that it's only going to enhance the impact of the talent management as a function overall. And AI can play a significant role of being an enabler in enhancing the overall effectiveness of the talent management function. So thank you, thank you. My next question is to Grishma, because I understand, Grishma, you also have to leave maybe in the next 5-7 minutes. There's something which is up there. So Grishma, here's the question to you. If AI can do 80% of the jobs, and what we are now trying to, the trend that's coming up is, a lot of routine jobs, simple routine jobs can be replaced by AI. Now, if AI can actually do 80% of the jobs as well as humans can, and which is going to reduce the cost significantly over a period of time, should we still consider hiring humans? If yes, which are specific roles where you see humans can still add a lot of value? Grishma, you're on mute.
Yeah, just it was lagging a bit. Thanks, Rohan, for that question. So very interesting. You said that if AI can manage 80% of the job, should we then hire humans for the remaining 20%? In my opinion, the 20% of the job that's remaining that cannot be done by AI is actually covering the 80% of the quality of the work. It contributes to the 80% of the quality of the work, because that what the human brings to any role will be nuanced decision making, will be that empathy piece, would be a lot of emotional quotient, which I think, in my opinion, probably a little bit, I'm being a bit too, saying that a bit too early on, but I feel however sophisticated the AI tools get, it's going to be very, very difficult to replace that EQ quotient and embed that into any AI tool. So I truly feel that that missing 20% by the AI tools is going to be the differentiating factor, and actually literally a deal breaker if that's not managed by humans. And I also think, like you said, these back office jobs, the menial jobs, are actually going to get replaced. And I'm very much a glass half full kind of person. So I feel this is an exciting generation, exciting time for these back office roles for them to get elevated thanks to AI, because there's going to be a whole new industry that's going to get created thanks to AI. So there'll be new roles in terms of ethics, in terms of engineering, AI oversight, which is going to replace these menial repetitive tasks and really going to elevate their jobs that they're doing currently. So I think that if those 20% do not get hired, I think 100% the jobs or the quality of works is going to get kind of affected. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Okay. Well said. I think you made a very relevant point. If the back office jobs really sort of use AI as an enabler, it can really, the productivity can really go up by 5x or a 7x. Thank you, Grishma, for sharing your perspective. There are questions from the audience, and if I can request Shweta, there's one question that has come up. Thank you, Grishma. And with AI tools that are actually increasing the productivity, what would be its impact on the Indian job market? Would it be sort of a net gain from an Indian job market or a net loss? What are your thoughts, Shweta, on this?
That's quite an economics-driven question. But yes, I'll try to justify the question for sure. Thank you so much for bringing up this question from the audience. See, we have to understand one thing. There are three kind of tasks in every job. My co-panelist just recently, she highlighted that part as well. But it's completely being unbiased. I'll not speak answering this question only as an HR professional, but also with a business acumen, because at the end of the day, it's all about gaining, losing. So we'll talk about the business impact as well. With AI tools increasing the productivity, if there is an increase in productivity, it has direct proportionate positive impact. Higher the productivity, higher the gain for any business coming across. Let's be correct, first of all, in the question having the answer. Impacting the job market, we initially also talked about it. If there would be impact of, for example, 85 million jobs getting down and vis-a-vis 96 million jobs coming up, it justify against on the number, but in terms of the impact, it would come in the factor. For example, there is a resource in an organization who is doing one SME expert role. With time, like I said earlier as well, the skill requirement would evolve. I might not need one person doing that part of job, maybe two part of job maybe handed over to one person, and that common transactional and operational tasks being automated through AI or a chatbot. Yeah.
Right.
Again, it would amplify per headcount cost per hire in terms of CTC and of course the resource of hiring, but at the same time amplify per resource productivity as well. If there is a resource, if there are certain kind of roles being managed by two different headcount, maybe in future would be by one or maybe 1.5 headcount. Practically, it looks like, oh my god, that means there would be job losses. They might impact, that might impact the economy. But at the same time, the productivity increasing, the impact, the operational cost will be the least at that moment. Hence, it would evolve Darwin's theory, survival for the fittest. In case you are not upgrading yourself, upgrading your skills, you would be at the losing end. It is, let's not blame AI on that. Let's not blame even economy on. At the end of the day, it would be a positive situation. If I'll not go into gaining or losing, but it would come around in a positive situation. That situation would be as simple as that: organizations adapting well, the HR department making employees, getting them adapting to this change well. It's all about change management. And I personally feel the in one word, the answer for HR people is through OD interventions only. There is no second thought on that. OD intervention, be it for talent acquisition or talent development or talent management practices, that is where it will fall in the place. And it would fall in the place for sure. Humans, they are adaptive. They have that Charles Darwin's theory of survival for the fittest thing. There's no losing end. There was a time when people were not, everything was on paper. We call it bureaucracy. Yeah, there is a time when our new generations, today Gen Z's, they question each process. And I love the fact, because only if that process is really needed, we'll talk about it, else not. So it's just that apprehension towards change, that fear towards change. Very beautifully, one of my co-panelists also highlighted, it's just a fear to new things coming up. Attain the knowledge, know about it. I come from a virtual reality background when I was also a co-founder in my previous stint. Trust me, it is not going to let your job lose. If in case there is a new technology coming in, there would be new people knowing that technology, blockchain developer, Web3 developers, who were not needed until now, building all the robots, who will actually build the robots. And if the business is coming in the place, we need all the support functions also, be it HR professionals, be it finance professionals. Maybe there is a new industry coming up, popping up, and hence there is a fear of other industries losing theirs. They have to upgrade yourself. That's as simple as that. Yeah.
Right. So thanks, Shweta. And here's my last question of the day to Sindhuja. Now, the question is, how can AI really enable, us as individual professionals? How can we sort of integrate AI into our daily lives to make ourselves more productive? And if you can share maybe, two, three very specific examples about if we do this with the help of AI, it can sort of boom our productivity. Your thoughts on that?
Okay. I can probably share my own example of how I'm using in my role as a talent development person and a DEI person. Of course, there is a whole lot of deep research that I do with Gen AI, and I think that's made a huge difference. For instance, if I want to look at talent development trends, and I want to do this last week, I had to go to a Gartner, I had to look at Deloitte research, and I had to go and really parse through 10 different research papers and then come up with one slide of what is a talent development trend today. I just go on ChatGPT today or Gemini, and I'm able to get so much of my work done. Similarly, visual presentations of my work again is far more easier, and all of that is freed up time. And I'm somebody who hates administrative work, so a lot of these tools has helped me take care of those easily so that I can focus on more strategic work. And I think that's what's going to happen. And coming back to the earlier question, it's going to boost our productivity. It's going to take away those repetitive tasks so that we can focus on work that's really impactful and important for all of us.
That reminds me, one topic that's been trending on LinkedIn for a while, and I see a lot of people copy pasting it, which is RIP presentations. You've noticed that on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think very rightly said. If we can sort of integrate AI, I think we would not just end up working hard, but we would end up working a lot smartly, and that leaves us with a lot of more time, whether to spend that time doing something more value adding at work, or maybe pursuing hobbies, or just spending time with our families. But guys, it was absolutely great to have you all, and it was so wonderful to hear your views about AI, how will AI enable jobs, and it is so heartening to know that AI is not going to be a killer.
Just
You know,
one thing I wanted to add on, if you allow, Rohan, and I'm
yes,
sure
Shweta, please go ahead.
Sindhuja would also agree to it. It's as simple as that. When ChatGPT came into the picture, it's my humble request to all the new generation people, Gen Z especially, please do not use ChatGPT to get the ideas. Just use, maybe for your idea, you want a better way how to iterate an email or something. Do not blindly follow any artificial intelligence. Creativity has an upper hand always. That would not define it. It is you. We are not robots. Let the robots be robots. As simple as that.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree with that completely, Shweta. I remember a time when we had landline phones, right? And I must be in my higher school those days when I had the phone for the first time. We were all very excited, and I remember that I could actually remember all the 60, 70, 80 phone numbers. I had those memorized. Today, I don't remember a single phone number, right? I could remember it then, but I think technology should be seen as a great enabler, but it shouldn't handicap us. We shouldn't sort of become slaves to technology. And you've brought out a very relevant point that while AI could be a great enabler, we got to use it with a lot of caution. I came across a job description recently on one of the very popular social media platforms, which was taken from clearly from Chat GPT. And when you sort of ask Chat GPT a prompt that I want to have a job description, it doesn't mention the name of the company, obviously. It just says company, and that is written in brackets. So exactly the same thing was posted. Nobody even bothered to check the job description. I mean, we cannot be working like this. So, but thank you for sort of bringing that out on a concluding note, and wonderful to have you here, and thanks to Shed Pro for organizing this session today on such an important, relevant topic. Over to you, Aditya. I think it's 4:59, so we are right
Thank
on
you,
time.
Rohan. Thank
Just
you.
just a minute away. Yeah. But definitely, wow, what an incredible discussion we have had today. Thank you, everyone. We are fewer people now, but thank you, Sindhuja. Thank you, Shweta. Thank you, Aprajita. Thank you, Grishma. And thank you so much, Rohan, for
My pleasure.
moderating this. I mean, this was just so it was optimistic. What I know now is that everyone is optimistic about AI and not like afraid uh, of it. I mean, I believe that the future of work isn't about humans versus AI. It's about humans plus AI. So we are going to build this thing together. Like we are doing it together. So like the key lies in learning, evolving, and leveraging AI to create like new possibilities. It was such an amazing discussion. Thank you to the audience as well for asking questions and your comments too. Hoping that we would meet in another shared future discussion. But thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you, everyone.
So much.
Thank
Thank
you
you so
very
much,
All
much.
right.
Shrey
See
team.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you, Rohan and Aditya. Lovely meeting you, Sindhuja, and all other co-panelists.
Same here. Same here. Thanks for the
Thank you.
opportunity, folks.
Thank you.
See you. Bye.